What if I told you the first 60 seconds of intimacy can shape how deeply he craves you for the next 60 years? The beginning isn't just a warm-up, it's the foundation for every moment that comes after. If you let it slip by without intention, you risk losing his full presence. But if you understand it, if you move through it with awareness, you don't just hold his attention, you guide the entire experience. Many women don't realize how powerful those opening seconds really are. But in that small window, something primal stirs inside them. It's not about technique, it's about energy. When you arrive with clarity, grace, and a quiet kind of control, you're not just pulling him in, you're awakening something deeper. These next moments aren't just physical, they're a silent, emotional blueprint. Use them wisely and you'll leave a mark that time can't erase. The first moments of intimacy aren't about movement, they're about meaning. Your energy steps into the space before your hands even do. Most people think it starts when the clothes come off, but the truth is, it begins much earlier. It begins when you shift into presence. When something inside you decides, I'm not here to be taken, I'm here to meet him fully, that silent decision travels through your entire body like a wave. It's not about what you touch first or the words you speak, it's about what you carry in your presence. A woman who enters that space connected to herself changes the atmosphere. She doesn't hurry, she doesn't try to impress, she simply arrives. Completely. Her breath slows, her gaze softens, but holds him, not from obligation, but from awareness. She isn't waiting for a spark, she is the flame. When you lead with energy, you're giving him something rare, emotional certainty. In a world filled with masks, doubt, and hesitation, your certainty becomes his shelter. Your very presence says, I know myself, I know what I'm here for, and I'm not afraid to feel it. That energy slices through the noise in his mind. You don't have to speak it, your body already is. In how you breathe, not rushed but grounded. In how you move, not scattered but intentional. In how you make room, not just for him but for your own fullness. All of that becomes your unspoken invitation. And even if he can't explain why, he feels it. He feels safer, more alive, seen in a way that challenges him without wounding him. This energy you bring, it doesn't have to be loud. In fact, it shouldn't be. It's not about overpowering, it's about embodying. It's about holding your space with softness and strength at the same time. There is nothing more magnetic than a woman who no longer looks for permission to exist fully. When you show up in that way, you're not saying, look at me. You're saying, I'm here, I see you, come meet me here. Not with games, not with performance, but with truth. That silent call, whether spoken aloud or just felt, awakens something higher in him. The man who's ready will hear it. He'll feel it. And he'll rise to meet you because he senses this isn't just another night. This isn't a moment of routine. It's a moment of realness. Most women were trained to wait in intimacy, to let him initiate, to adjust to his rhythm, to look to him for cues. But what if you didn't wait? What if you entered the space like it was sacred, like your presence shaped it just as much as his desire did? That's what leading with energy means. It's not loud, it's not forceful, it's internal, it's deep, it's spiritual, it's the kind of awareness that shifts the entire emotional temperature. Once a man feels that kind of presence from a woman, it stays with him because it's rare. Most people are only halfway present, stuck in performance or habit. But when a woman truly shows up, fully, emotionally, spiritually, she doesn't just change the moment, she changes what intimacy means to him. That level of presence, that depth, gives you influence, not over him, but with him. You invite the part of him that longs to feel, the part that wants to connect beyond the surface. That's why the first minute is so important. You're not just setting a physical pace. You're creating an emotional invitation. You're saying, this isn't just about roles or scripts. This is about resonance. And when your energy vibrates at that deeper level, you draw him out of his head and into his body, into the moment, into you. Suddenly, he's not just sharing a bed. He's standing in something real. And that experience doesn't just move him for one night. it leaves a lasting trace. So don't let that first minute slip by unnoticed. Don't let nerves or overthinking steal your power. Take a breath. Ask yourself, who am I bringing into this space? Bring the version of you that feels most alive, the one that doesn't apologize for wanting depth. That version doesn't ask, was it good enough? Because she knows it was real. Not because it was perfect, but because it was present. And that's what stays in his mind. Not what you did, but how it felt. How you made him feel. How your energy lingered like a scent, like a sound that plays in the back of his thoughts long after the night ends. And then there's your voice. Words aren't just sound. They're emotional keys. They open doors that actions alone never could. In those first few seconds, just one sentence, whispered, said with warmth, or breathed out with steady ease, can shape everything. It doesn't need to be long or rehearsed. It just needs to be real. That one sentence becomes the frame around the picture you're about to create. It tells him, I'm not here to perform. I'm here to feel. And that's unforgettable. Because in a world where so many experiences feel half-lived, a woman who speaks with truth, that's rare. That one sentence, it's your emotional fingerprint on the night. It doesn't have to be clever. It just has to be true. Say, I've been thinking about this, and you create anticipation. Say, you're mine tonight, and he feels the invitation to let go. Say, I want to feel everything, and he's pulled into the now. Say, don't hold back, and you invite trust, not just arousal. The point isn't to sound sexy, it's to be honest, because the men who crave something real, what moves them isn't flawless technique. It's depth. It's sincerity. That first sentence isn't just heard, it's felt. It stays with him. Think of it like striking a chord. The right words send a vibration through the air that shifts everything. It becomes less about how your body looks and more about how your presence feels. Men might forget the details, the timing, the lights, but they won't forget that one thing you said that made them stop and feel. That thing that made them think, she's really here with me, all of her. And remember, bold doesn't mean crude. This isn't about shocking him. It's about aligning your words with the energy you want to create. If you want raw heat, speak to it. If you want closeness, speak from it. If you want to break free, say something that gives both of you permission to unravel. What you say becomes the emotional path you both walk. And when you speak first, you're showing him this matters to you. You're not waiting to be led. You're inviting him into a shared experience. And that's courage. That's magnetism. You don't need a speech. Sometimes one sentence is all it takes. But it has to come from your center, from truth, from desire. And when it does, everything changes. Speak your truth. Say something that cracks the surface, even a little, because in that moment, you're not just touching his body, you're reaching something far deeper, his soul. And when a man hears a sentence like that from a woman who truly means it, something shifts. His guard softens, his ego quiets, his instincts sharpen. He's no longer just turned on, he's alert, fully present, and pulled into the now. From that point on, everything feels different because you've done what most women are too scared to do. You've taken emotional ownership of the moment, not by trying to control it, but by shaping it with truth. Yes, one honest sentence can cause a ripple that grows into a wave. And in that wave, two people stop acting and start connecting. So don't rush to speak. Don't toss out your first line without meaning. Let your words rise from your body, not your head. Let them be messy, sacred, raw, or gentle, but let them be real. Because when a man hears that sentence, the one you didn't rehearse, the one that came straight from your center, he knows this moment is unlike the others. He knows you're unlike the others. And that realization stays with him long after it's over. It echoes, it draws him back to you again and again. Now let's talk about your eyes. Holding eye contact in those first few moments of intimacy might be one of the boldest and most vulnerable things a woman can do, and also one of the most powerful. Why? Because it cuts through the noise. There's nowhere to hide. When you hold his gaze, you're no longer just a body next to his. You become a presence, a mirror, a force that invites depth. Most people avoid eye contact in moments like these, not because it doesn't matter, but because it matters too much. It makes everything real. And real can be scary. When things feel real, fear shows up. Fear of being seen, of being judged, of being left for being too open. But if you can move past that fear and keep your eyes on his, something extraordinary happens. You become unforgettable. Eye contact becomes a quiet form of bravery. In that first minute, it says more than words ever could. It tells him, I see you. Not just his body or his moves, but his truth, his vulnerability, his humanness. And it also says, you can see me too, and I'm not afraid of that. That kind of mutual openness is rare. Most people crave closeness, but hide the very parts of themselves that would create it. They look away when things get intense. They shut the window to their soul, then wonder why the moment feels shallow. But you, when you lock eyes, you do the opposite. You say, I'm not here to shrink. I'm not here to pretend. I'm here to be fully in this with all of me. And he feels that not just on the outside, but deep in his core. Because while touch excites him, it's your gaze that grounds him. It brings him out of overthinking, out of trying to do everything right. Your eyes remind him this isn't about perfection, it's about presence. And yes, it might feel awkward at first. Vulnerability always feels like a stretch, like standing in the spotlight with nowhere to run. But that's exactly what makes it beautiful. Because that's where real intimacy starts. Not in the flawless performance, but in the raw courage to be seen. It takes strength, the soft kind, to hold that space. You don't have to stare intensely. You can look at him with curiosity, gentleness, or even playful wonder. What matters most is that you're present, that you're not avoiding him, that you're not seeing through him, but into him. This act alone can shift everything. Suddenly, it's not just about physical pleasure. It becomes emotional, alive, real. Every touch, every breath gains weight. Every second holds meaning. Because your gaze has built a silent bridge, not just between two bodies, but between two hearts. And don't underestimate what that can do to a man. When a man is truly seen, especially in such a raw moment, it touches something in him he didn't know was there. He may not have the words for it, but he will feel it. He'll remember the shift, the pause in time when he was really with someone who wasn't afraid to look right at him. That experience gets embedded in his memory. Not just your body, but your depth, your courage, your ability to feel with him, not just for him. So if you ever feel like looking away, ask yourself why, and then choose to stay. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. Because that kind of eye contact can't be faked. It either exists or it doesn't. And when it does, it turns everything electric. That gaze in the first minute doesn't need to last long, just long enough to say, I'm right here. I see you. Let's not waste this. And when you do that, when you really see him and let him see you, something unforgettable starts to unfold. Something that neither of you will want to turn away from. Now, touch, that's not just physical. It's emotional language too. It's your intention made real through skin. In those first moments, the way you reach for him, where your hands go, how they move, it tells him everything. This isn't about tricks. It's not about trying to get it right. It's about touching with purpose, not uncertainty. Because hesitation sends a message. It whispers to the body, something here isn't safe. But when you touch with clarity, when your hands are steady and full of your own energy, you shift everything. You don't just turn him on, you bring him into full awareness. You tell him without words, I'm not a guest in this experience, I'm leading too. Too often women are taught to wait, to follow, to react, but a woman who initiates, who touches first with meaning, turns that idea inside out. She's not being aggressive, she's being aware. Her hands carry intention, her fingers, her palms, each part becomes an extension of her desire. She's not asking, is this okay? Her touch says, I want this, and I want you to feel that. That kind of touch isn't about performance, it's about honesty. When you touch him slowly with real feeling, you're saying more than you ever could with words. When your hand finds his chest and stays there, it says, I want to feel your heart. When you run your fingers through his hair gently, it says, I'm not leaving. When your hands linger instead of pull away, you're telling him, you can relax here. You don't have to be perfect here. You get to feel too. You don't have to know exactly what to do. That's the magic. Presence makes every move the right move. When you're in your body, when you're following your own sense of what feels good and true, he follows that energy too. That's how you move from touching to truly connecting. That's when it stops being a scene and starts becoming a memory, one that leaves him changed. Because purposeful touch takes bravery. It means showing up, not pretending, not hiding, just being there fully. You don't need to do this perfectly, but you do need to do it from the right place. That means replacing self-consciousness with self-connection. And yes, that can feel difficult, especially if you've been taught that your role is to receive, not to lead. But here's the truth. When you initiate from presence, with confidence, with real emotion in your touch, you don't lose your softness, you magnify it. Because true feminine energy isn't passive, it's alive. It doesn't wait to be invited, it does the inviting. It welcomes, it draws in, it awakens, not by performance, but by sincerity. And when a man feels that kind of touch, sincere, grounded, full of intention, he knows. He may not say it out loud, but his whole body shifts, he relaxes, he focuses, he listens. Because you've touched something deeper than lust, you've touched trust. Trust that he doesn't always have to lead, that he's allowed to be held, to be received, to be nurtured too. And most men, even the strongest, have never fully experienced that. They've felt wanted, yes, but not honored, not that kind of deep, sacred attention that says, I'm not just here to take, I'm here with you for this moment all the way in. Your touch becomes the bridge between his body and his heart. It's how your energy becomes tangible, how it moves from idea to feeling. So don't rush it. Don't treat it like a step to get through. Treat it like a message, a language, a ritual. Start slow, maybe still. Let your hand land somewhere with meaning. Feel the warmth of his skin. Let your body speak first before your voice ever does. That quiet pause, that's where the unforgettable begins. And if you ever feel unsure, don't panic. Just pause, breathe, then ask yourself, what do I want him to feel right now? Whether the answer is safety, tenderness, confidence, or desire, let that be what moves you. Let your hands be guided by intention, not fear. Because when you touch with purpose, he feels more than your fingers. He feels your soul. And no one else can offer that. That's what turns a touch into a memory. That's what makes the first minute more than physical. It makes it unforgettable. There's a difference, a huge one, between being desired and being chosen. And men feel that difference deep down, whether they ever speak of it or not. Desire is instinctive, it's impulsive, it can come and go, but being chosen, that's rare. That speaks to his worth, to his spirit, to his deeper sense of value. In those early seconds of sex, many women focus on showing that they're attracted, that they're enjoying it. And that's beautiful. But the shift happens when a woman shows something more. That she's not just wanting a man, but this man When a man receives that message, even without words, it stays with him. When he senses clearly that out of everyone you could be with, you're choosing him, not just physically, but emotionally, it touches something tender inside him. That feeling lingers far beyond the act. You make a man feel desired by touching him, looking at him with heat, showing him he turns you on. But you make him feel chosen when your presence says, I'm not here by accident. I'm not just going with the mood. I chose this moment. I chose you. That's where your power lives, in the quiet, intentional knowing of your yes. When a woman gives herself with presence, with no apology, no hesitation, it's not just sexy, it's sacred. It tells him you're enough. You are worthy of this. Not because he performed or earned it, but because you saw something in him that made you stay. That isn't flattery, that's soul recognition. And a man can feel that even if no one else ever has the words for it. He might be desired by many, he might have attention, casual flings, admiration, but none of that touches the heart the way being chosen does. What most men are silently longing for isn't more desire, it's to be truly seen, to be recognized by a woman who values herself deeply enough to give with meaning. When that kind of woman offers herself not out of fear, not out of loneliness, but from a place of wholeness, he doesn't just enjoy it, he remembers it, because it feeds something deeper than his ego. It feeds his identity, his longing to feel useful, needed, respected, his longing to matter. In those first few seconds of intimacy, you communicate that he is chosen not just with your words, but in the way you treat him, in how your hands meet his body with reverence, not just hunger. When you explore him slowly, when your touch is gentle but curious, like you're rediscovering him each time, it tells him he matters. It tells him he's not just filling a role, he's part of something meaningful. And he's not being used, he's being wanted. And it's not about possession, it's about presence. When you let your eyes soften, not just with need, but with recognition, he feels it. When you whisper something personal, his name, a detail only you've noticed, or a small truth about how he affects you, he feels seen. And that feeling, it roots deep inside him. It quiets the part of his mind that's always wondering if he's enough. The part that feels like he has to keep performing, proving, chasing validation. You give him space to rest from that, and in that rest, something in him unfolds. Emotionally, spirit, that kind of opening changes how he sees you. You stop being just a partner, you become a moment etched into his memory, a moment he doesn't forget. And remember, this isn't about feeding a man's ego. It's not manipulation. It's not a tactic. It's connection. It's about knowing your own value so clearly that your choice has meaning. You don't give yourself to everyone, so when you do, it means something, and he knows it. That's the kind of woman a man doesn't just want, he respects. Because she's not trying to be good enough for him. She's asking, is he awake enough to receive what I'm bringing? And when the answer is yes, she gives freely, not from emptiness, from fullness. That's what makes the first minute matter. Not the movements, not the sounds, but the truth behind them. A man may sleep with many, but the one he remembers, the one that echoes years later, is the one who didn't ask him to be more. She simply saw what he already was and wanted that, where he didn't need to prove himself, where he could simply be. That's the kind of intimacy that marks him forever. So when you enter those first moments with him, carry that knowing. Let your body language slow. Let your breath ground you. Let your voice carry the calm power of a woman who isn't chasing or performing, but offering. Let your eyes say, out of all the men in the world, it's you I choose, not for what you give, but for who you are. Because that message just turned him on. It stays. It sinks into his heart. And it becomes part of the story he tells himself about love, about being enough, about what's real.